I think the industry's become a bit more of a care-based industry, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it's something that's needed. Our population is getting older in retirement homes. They're coming in with higher levels of acuity, so higher needs and higher care needs, which is also making the product a bit more expensive as well, with higher levels of care and higher care needs. We've also had challenges around finding enough staffing to make sure that we can deliver the care that we need to our residents. And I don't know if that was a factor of COVID or that's just a factor of, what's been happening over the last few years in healthcare, where there's just an increased need for more and more people in healthcare, and not necessarily as many people that want to work in the sector. But that's become our number one goal, and it's the number one part of our strategic plan in the next 5 years, is to attract enough people that are culturally aligned, and to people that want to work in retirement homes and work in long-term care homes. And as part of I'm on the board at Orca. It's one of the things that we talk about quite often, is how can we attract more and more people to our sector to really, it's a wonderful place to work. It's incredibly inspiring, and fills your heart every day with just the stories that you hear coming out of our communities. But it's a place that it's also sometimes challenging and difficult, and it's not easy work either. It's very rewarding, but we need to influence the younger population that this is a career path that more and more of them should be taking a look at. It's important that we do. We've been a pretty forward-thinking organization. We have the Research Institute for Aging that we're partnered with in Waterloo. We're partnered with the University of Waterloo. We've got multiple partnerships with colleges and universities and living classrooms throughout our villages. So we actually train the next generation of worker right in our village, and they're able to actually study and work in our villages. So, colleges like Conestoga and Mohawk, we do a lot of wonderful work with them in our buildings. And I think that's evolved over the last few years. We're investing in building more and more long-term care and retirement communities when it feels like the rest of the market has really slowed down. We've put our foot on the pedal a little bit. Our villages are full continuums of care, anything from true independent living with independent living apartments with fridges and stoves and no meals, to full meal plans, to higher levels of care and memory care on our retirement side. But then we also have long-term cares as part of every single village. So we start with the long-term care. It's really the foundation and the cornerstone of what we do as an organization. And it really speaks to our mission, because our mission is to really bring those values and that home environment and that holistic healthcare home environment to as many people as we possibly can across the province. One of the things that we're doing right now currently is we've got 7 brand new long-term care homes basically in the ground this year. The one thing that pops into my head is it's Seniors Month, and the one thing that we do every Seniors Month is we have a program called the Green Bench, and it really is designed to combat ageism. So what we're doing this month is we're taking the green benches out to different libraries, and we've actually taken them to some high schools too. And we have seniors in our residents sit on these green benches and tell stories and talk to different generations. And we do it every year. It's a wonderful thing to see. It's awesome to see just people come and sit down and have conversations with our residents and just hear all of the great wisdom that comes from our resident population. You get it on our podcast too, but it's even better when it's live in person, where you can just go sit and have a conversation. So, we've got them going on all over the province right now in all kinds of different libraries and different schools. And it's pretty awesome to be a part of it. Ted Hudson, who is on our marketing team and I have the pleasure of working with every day, is really the guy that sets these things up and gets them going every year. And they're just it just shows the values of who we are, and just how our residents are so important to us and have so much knowledge. So the more we can do to combat ageism, and the more we can do to kind of change the culture around aging is really important to us. And this is it's a big deal for us over the month of June. we talk about, one of the questions that we ask residents when they move in is, what kind of value are you going to add to the community? What hobbies do you do? What kind of experiences do you have that you can share with other people? Really, you become a citizen of that community. And how can you contribute to that as well? Our seniors have so much to give. A lot of them still want to they want to work, or they want to volunteer, or they want to they want to educate people on their past experiences. And at Schlegel, we do a really good job of enabling and allowing people to do that. We've got an awesome podcast that's basically run by our residents, and one of our residents is a host. We've got all kinds of activities that all of our stories we tell all the time are about our residents and their experiences, and just how amazing and wonderful they are as people. And that, I think that's what we need to do more of as an industry, is tell those types of stories and feature our wonderful residents, and just and their ability to add value to the environments that they're living in. We're always trying to evolve. You add some technology here and there to help meet the needs of residents. We've got dining room robots in some of our communities that we would never have had before. The robots are there not to take somebody's job, but they're actually there to supplement the labor. So to be able to allow servers to stay in the dining room and interact with residents more. There's one at Tansley Woods right now, which has been really successful. And the residents took to it. They're kind of funny because they it's a robot, but it'll sing you happy birthday, and you almost treat it like a person eventually, once you get used to the robot just milling around the dining room. But it's really there only to do the grunt work. It's really there to bring the food out and bring the tray and bring the plates back to the kitchen. And the way it works is it uses Wi-Fi, and it's got a predetermined path that it takes through the dining room. So it knows which tables to stop at. It knows when to stop at them. It knows when to go back and pick them up. But it's allowed our servers to not have to run back and forth into the dining room, and actually spend more time with residents, which the residents commented on. I get to see Sarah or Jane more often, because now they're not running back and forth, and they're not so tired from carrying those heavy plates up from the dining room. So I think technology is going to help us enable better connection with residents through that way, by supplementing some of the menial tasks that are out there. I also think AI is going to do the same thing. I think it's going to enable us to focus more on residents. And actually, AI is great when it comes to data, and we've got tons of data in our industry, and to be able to interpret the data quickly, to use AI to actually tell us what's going on, both clinically and operationally in our villages, is important. And we've really started down the road on AI and data at Schlegel Villages. In the next few years. And I think this is great, because one of the challenges we have is clinical time at the bedside, and clinical time and nursing time is really important. And nurses are hard to find. Good nurses are really hard to find. And we do a lot of time, and we spend a lot of time care planning and updating documentation in both retirement and long-term care. So imagine you have an AI listening device, even your phone, and you're having a care conference with a family and a resident. You're talking about that resident's care needs. Well, your phone is actually doing the care planning for you. So when you're done, you get AI generated care plans that come out. The nurses review them, make sure that they're correct. And then the nurse doesn't have to spend half an hour every care plan sitting in front of a computer inputting all of this data and building these care plans. So it frees up a ton of time for nursing and clinical staff to be able to spend more time with residents, spend more time with families, interact more frequently, and provide a better experience and a better care experience. I think the next generation is really where we're going to need to step up. Everyone has a smartphone. Everyone interacts with technology. We've got smart houses and devices that we talk to. So, 5-10 years from now is where this is really going to come to a head. The advice that we've given a lot of operators in retirement, and we did in BC a couple of weeks ago when we presented, was you're going to need to make sure that your Wi-Fi systems, your cybersecurity, those types of fundamentals are robust. to get ready for this. Because if you don't have that and you don't have it down pat and figured out how to kind of expand it as these needs grow, you're going to be so far behind once that happens. So we as an industry need to get on that now. You're going to see some bigger villages. That's the one way that it's evolving. As an example, our Oakville project is 640 long-term care beds, and then there'll be a number of retirement homes that will go on that property as well. So we call it the city of Schlegel Village instead of the village, because it's going to be a fairly significant building on that property. But what hasn't changed is our neighborhood model. So, you know, as big as the building gets, it still consists of neighborhoods. And, you know, our neighborhoods have the same team members that work in those neighborhoods. It feels like a sense of a community within a community. So you're part of this bigger Schlegel Village, but you're still living in a neighborhood with people that you know, neighbors that you know. You get that kind of warm and fuzzy feeling that, you know, you feel secure and safe because it's people surrounding you that, you know, care for you, that care about you. It doesn't matter that the buildings have gotten bigger on those properties. You know, our philosophy on, you know, having large main streets with amenities along them is going to continue. As much as building costs are going up and that space is valuable, it's valuable to our residents, and it's valuable to who we are as an organization, is to make sure that we've got those big open spaces that have amenities on Main Street, like, you know, hair salons and libraries, and then we've got a pet shop in most of our villages now, where it has pets, and you know, our stores and our hobby shops, and, you know, all those things are going to continue to be on Main Street. It's really Main Street is who we are, and it's what we're about. So you'll see that in every single village as we continue to grow and as we continue to expand. It's not going to change. I mean, I think the trends that we're seeing are the consolidation of the industry is a significant trend, and, you know, there's a lot of, it's an interesting business right now because there's a lot of investment that goes into senior housing, and then, you know, you'll have a third party company that's operating on behalf of an investment trust, or operating on behalf of you know, a real estate investment trust, or a pension fund that has huge ownerships across the industry in Canada, and a lot of these businesses are consolidating. Of course, Schlegel Villages is very, very different from that. It's actually kind of awesome to be part of a private business owned by a family that you know, their entire mission is just to bring more of what we do to more seniors. So, you know, as much as we need to keep doing that, keep doing a good job of it, keep having good occupancy, and making sure that we keep having good returns to be able to support that growth. It's not as challenging a situation when you've got, you know, outside organizations, you know, a lot of big American companies looking for investments and return on investments in the space. So you're seeing the consolidation of the industry that's impacting that a little bit. It commoditizes the products a little bit more, instead of, you know, a lot of the kind of single ownership mom and pop retirement communities are being bought up by a lot of the bigger organizations too. Again, it provides scale and, you know, efficiencies in purchasing and things like that. So it may enable price to stay down a little bit in some of those instances, but it's just one of the things that's happening across the industry right now.